So welcome back to Orchid House. I'm Olivier in Fort Lauderdale, and today I just wanted to briefly explain how I establish bare-rooted Oncidiums that I imported from Colombia. So this one here is Oncidium isthmii, and this is a plant that actually needs a serious rest after flowering. And so when I bought it, so I just had these bulbs. This one was not super plump, and that was 4 months ago that I bought it from Orchids del Valle. And I set it aside for 3 months, no medium, nothing. I soaked it once a month for a whole night. And I monitored the bulb, and it started plumping up. I mean, Oncidiums really have to dry out every time in between watering. You can't just keep them wet all the time. And they just naturally store water. It's a reserve because they know they don't get water all the time, at least in nature. So it started plumping up, and then recently I started seeing new roots, and that's also typical of Oncidiums. It's an orgy of roots. There's tons of them, and they go all over. And I also have a new growth here on the second bulb, so 2 bulbs are doing well. And this one here has plumped up quite a bit. So then I decided to pot it, and by now, if you follow my channel, you know that I fell in love with tree fern fiber. And so this one is potted in tree fern fiber, and I soak it once a week. So the medium gets completely dry, but the thing with tree fern fiber, it's never waterlogged. So it's water retentive but not waterlogged, and I like it for all the plants that are very, very sensitive about aeration of the medium. So again, this one basically was set aside for 3 months, doing nothing. Once a month, a good soaking, and then finally I potted it. This girl is a warm grower and needs a decent amount of light once established. And then I have Oncidium baueri, and this one I only bought 2 months ago. And I potted it immediately because it had this spike, and the spike was actually blooming. Now the 3 flowers are gone. I had 1 more flower, and as I was setting this up, I made a gigantic mistake and I killed my flower basically. So this is still very fresh, but I mean, it came off the plant like 5 minutes ago. So this is a tiny flower from baueri. These plants they turn huge. They have lots and lots and lots of flowers. It's beautiful. So this one I decided to pot it right away because it was still active. You see it has a new growth, it was growing. So again, I potted this in tree fern fiber, and I just let it dry. Since this one doesn't require too much light, I set it in my area where there's an overhang, so it never gets rained on. Well, it's actually on the other side. No rain on, and also it's fairly shaded, so it doesn't need too much light. I didn't want to stress the plant out. It's still a little struggling from the bare rooting and the export from Colombia. I had double the bulbs, but within a week the other bulbs started rotting, so I just cut them away and thinking hopefully this is going to work. And I think it does work, because if you look here, you start having root growth. 1 new root, 2 new roots, I think there's a 3rd one. And this has also plumped up. When I got it, it was very flat, and now it's already starting to plump up and fatten up at the base. This one seems to be still good. And like I said, this flower actually opened up only, I don't know, maybe a week ago at best. The other flowers were larger, so this is still a very young plant, but this is what it's going to look like. And so now I water it maybe 3 times a month at best. Just make sure it dries out, and I think it's on the right track. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I wish you a good day. Bye-bye.